What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're out in the shop tonight piddling around, and we're in the process of reversing the wheels on the 5610 here. We're going to weigh the tractor. I've got the scale set out there, and then we're going to put water in the tires. Probably not going to get all this done this afternoon. I'll probably wind up finishing up this video in the morning, maybe. We'll just see how it goes. But if you look here, the tires, there is a gap in between there. You cannot see it very well. Put a light on it so you can see. They're all the way in right there, and I got maybe a 1/4 inch gap between the tire and the fender. And these tires are pretty well worn, but I'm going to continue to run them for a little bit. But I was measuring the tires on my other tractor over there on my Mahindra. They're the same size tires, 18.4-30, but those tires are 1 inch wider than what these tires are. And so that means if I buy a new tire like that, a newer tire with a wider profile, probably maybe even go with a radial, like a R1W radial, has a little wider profile than what these older tires do. So that means that they're not going to clear anyway. That's about minimum clearance. So anyway, I'm reversing them. I've already got this one here reversed, as you see here. Well, not necessarily reversed, but moved out 2 inches. And I did that by moving the bolts right here. You take these bolts out of the disc, and you can move the wheel from the back side of here to the front side of here. I just got that one done. I kind of liked it being narrow, just because I thought it'd be a little more maneuverable. But I'm going to need the clearance, because put a little wider tire, or the same size tire, but the new ones are just a little bit wider. So maybe stick out another 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch on each side, something like that. It's probably going to need a little clearance. I'd rather have a little clearance in there anyways. Easier to get in here and wash this stuff out to get some mud in there and whatnot. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. It's going to make the tractor about 4 inches wider. So I think it was about 78 inches right now, 78.5 maybe. So it should make it about 82.5 when I get them widened out. And then the other one over there, if you put a little wider tire on it, it might make it about 83.5, somewhere in there. I kind of like them narrowed in because you could haul it or potentially haul it on a trailer with sides, but this tractor is going to be a little bit too heavy to haul on a trailer with sides, like a bumper pull or anything anyway, with an implement. And if you can't take an implement with you, well, you ain't much need to have the tractor if you ain't got an implement with it. So anyway, I'll set you guys up over here, and we'll get these loose here and get these moved out. So I've already got this thing jacked up. I probably got it jacked up a little bit too high, but I'm going to go ahead and take these bolts loose, or the nuts off. Change to a good hot battery. Try that again. I got to have this extension on there to get in there, and that extension is not good for torque. Oh, it came loose though. These things are quite rusty. Try a different one. That one's going to come. So was that one? see if we can get our studs knocked out now. One. Two. Three. Four. Five of them. Three left. Six of them. I just buggered the threads up on that one, hit it wrong. Seven of them. One more to go. That's all of them. Alright, so I've got this thing jacked up a little high, like I said. Let me go ahead and take my magnet and get all my studs picked up. So these things are quite rusty, but I guess they're still all right. Still a good bit of material there it's going to hold. So I'm going to let this jack down a little bit, and we should be able to get that wheel to slide out in between there. We want to get us kind of where the tire's kind of floating inside the wheel. A little bit more. Or the disc is floating inside the wheel is kind of what I meant to say there. So then we can turn the disc like this. Then we can slide the tire and wheel out past, like so. These tires don't have no water in them yet, obviously, or you would not be able to do this so easily. It's still not exactly easy doing it like this. I have to just wiggle it a little bit, get it walked out. It's a little easier if you take the disc off the tractor, do it that way. Jack the jack up just a touch. Instead of just turn more. Once you get it out clear, past it, we can turn it and get it to go back on there now. We gotta let our jack back down just a touch. Just right. Now our bolt's got to go back in for this side. And I got my jack too high still. It's a little bit more difficult to do it like this without pulling the disc off of here, but definitely doable. Unless it's got water in it, and then it's pretty difficult at that point. I think that's the one I messed up, maybe. Looks like it. I'll take a grinder and clean that thread up. Jack our jack up now so I can turn the tire so I can put our nuts and washers on the back side. All right, now we got to take our extension off so we can get back in behind here. start snugging them up. All right, guys, I had a little bit of an issue with one of these wheel studs right here. The shoulders on this stud here, they have square shoulders on them to keep them turning inside of here. And the shoulders are rusted off, and I had that bolt almost tight, and then it started turning because it was the shoulders were rusted off. And I couldn't get it to unscrew, or I couldn't get it to tighten up. So what I chose to do was, which I do not recommend, I took a TIG welder and welded just a little bit of weld right here to hold the bolt. I tried clamping it with vice grips. I tried wedging a chisel between here to wedge it up there and get it to tighten up. Still couldn't get it to do. So my only other option was take a grinder and grind the head of it off, or cut the head of it off and get a new stud, which I don't have, or just put a little weld on it, go ahead and get it to tighten up, and then if I ever need to take it off in the future, I'll just take a grinder with a cutoff wheel, cut that loose, and then get a new stud then. So I can you know, kind of put that repair down the road until the next time I need to take it apart by doing it this way. But anyway, it's not a good idea to weld on a wheel with a tire mounted on it, because the tire can explode. So anyway, don't recommend doing that. But that's what I did. So put a little paint on that. This paint here is the same paint, it's the same color, it's just this is all sooty and dirty and nasty, and that's fresh. So anyway, once this gets cleaned up, it'll be the same color as that, or once that gets dirty, it'll be the same color as this, whichever. So let's get this thing pulled up on some scales, see what she weighs, and we're gonna put some water in the tires. All right, guys, I got the loader up off the ground, about 1.5 foot high. That does change the measurements you'll get front to back, but we're looking at 1650. 1950. 1950 again. And 1650 again. So if you add those up, that comes to 7,200 pounds, and it only has a half a tank of fuel in it. So I backed it back up off the scales because those scales will shut off after a while, and it's going to take a while to put water in the tires. I also don't want to get water on my scales while I'm putting water in the tires. So we'll have to jack the back of it up, get the valve stem turned around to the 12 o'clock position here instead of the 6 o'clock position in order to put water in the tires. But it weighs 7,200 pounds, half full of fuel with no operator. So with a 200-pound operator full of fuel, you're gonna be looking at 7,500 pounds as it sits with a hay spear, and the bucket weighs more than the hay spear by probably 300 pounds. So It's going to get even heavier when we put water in the tires, obviously. I'm just going to put straight water in this. Not going to mess with putting antifreeze in it. I do have a video that I did on putting antifreeze and water in my Mahindra over there several years back. But I'm only going to put water in this because these tires here don't have a whole lot of life left in them. They're severely cracked, dry rotted. I think the other one is worse. And so they probably won't last a couple years anyhow. So it's not that big of a deal, and it doesn't get real cold here. And if it does, I probably won't be using this tractor. But anyway, there's no point in wasting the antifreeze or whatever and then having to recover it and all that. I'm just going to put straight water in it and call it a day. And that would be no worries whenever I get ready to put new tires on it. It won't be no big deal. They have tubes in them already, so it's not going to corrode the wheel or anything like that. So let me get my adapter and get a water hose strung out, and we'll get this process started. All right, now to do this job, you got to have a valve core removal tool and a water putter inner tool. So anyway, you get both of those at Napa, or at least you could. That's where I got, I think, both of these. Remove the valve core. We've already got it jacked up. Got a floor jack under it right there. Hold the weight off of it. And we're gonna let the air out. Once the air gets out, well, we can go ahead and put this on there. It's a straight through fitting. But when you start putting your water in there after the air gets out, you can tell how much water's in it by listening to the water going in here and rotating the tire some if you want to do it that way. But you have to relieve the air pressure. It has a little valve here. I find it best not even worry with that valve. Just about once or twice as you're filling this up, as your water comes up inside the tire, it's going to build air pressure in there because it's compressing what air is in the tire, replacing it with water. And so you'll have to relieve the air pressure out of the tire once it gets up, you know, to here and probably to here. You just don't want to let too much air pressure build up in the tire. So we'll go ahead and screw this on there. Then we screw a hose right on that, turn the hose on. All right, guys, I've got the hose on there. All the air is out of the tire. And I'm gonna go turn the water on. You'll hear it start going in there. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but you can hear it going in there. So it'll take a little bit. We'll check back on it in a bit. All right, guys, it's been going for probably 20 minutes. Let's see where we're at here. I think it's about full. Yeah, this one got full. I didn't know it had that much in it. We'll cut the water off. I know this tire getting pretty hard. I never even let the air out of it like I usually do. But it's full. It's gonna make a mess. I can tell that tire's getting quite a bit of pressure in it. Should do this a little closer to the door. Don't usually use this button either, but let a little bit of it out so it don't blow all over me when I take the hose loose. Go ahead and crack her loose anyways. It's about to go everywhere. That's how you know when it's full. I like to let them usually quit blowing water. That's what I usually like to do. Then put the valve core back in it and air it up there. Alright guys, it's getting to where it's almost done with the water coming out. I'm trying to hold the tractor balance level on the jack over there because this side's heavier now. It's going to tilt this way. It'll quit that in a minute, and we'll put a valve core back in there. I could go ahead and put it in there, but I'm gonna wait just a little bit longer. I got the air draining out of the other tire over there also. I don't know how much pressure I had in this tire, but it was a good bit. It sprayed water and air out of there for, I don't know, probably 10 minutes or so. Pretty close to it anyway. I wasn't really timing it, but a pretty good while. I think I'm gonna call it good. We're gonna go ahead and put our valve core back in there. Put some air in it. They do make a special tire gauge for use with fluid filled tires as well. All right, so I've got water going in the other tire. Once it gets heavier, the tractor will tilt back the other way, and I'll have to move my jack over to this side here. It's best if you put blocks up under, you know, or put a jack on each side or something, but I've done it like this a time or two on different tractors, and it'll work this way. Anyway, we've got some water going in this one. This tire is not in good a shape. I need to pay a little bit closer attention. Wind up blowing this thing out if I ain't careful. It's got several cracks, and the worst one's on the inside because these tires were on the opposite side of the tractor when I got it. It has some pretty good cracks and stuff in this one. Anyway, I'll try to pay a little closer attention to it. Like I say, I usually, when I get about halfway full or so, I usually like to let the air out of it. I don't know how much pressure was built up in that other one, but it seemed like quite a bit. I think I've got about 60 pounds of water pressure here, so if I ain't careful, it could be enough to, you know, possibly blow the tire out. So we've got side number 2 done. I paid a little closer attention to it. It took about 45 minutes. I pinched the hose in two, crimped the hose in two, and mashed a little squeeze valve on there to check my water level a time or two, to try to keep them getting it over full, and got it over full anyway, just a little bit, but not too bad, not as bad as the other one. I did not bleed the air off. I wanted to do it like the other one and just try to check my air pressure when I got it full, and I had about 25 pounds in there. Of course, it probably was a little more than that, maybe closer to 30, because I had to unscrew that fitting to get my air gauge on there, but that's kind of how I tested it. And after I got my air fitting unscrewed, or water fitting unscrewed, and tested it with a gauge, I had about 25 in it still. So it's pretty easy to get too much air in it if you're not paying attention. But anyway, let that drain out, and then we'll put some air back in it and be good to go. Got it back up on the scales here, positioned exactly like it was. Now these scales are in 50-pound increments, so it may show a little bit different number than it did on the front up there. We got 2,600 on the rear, and I think we were at 1,950. So that's 650 pounds difference on the rear on one side. And according to the charts, it should be about 700 pounds difference, or 700 pounds of water in each tire. According to the charts I was looking at, it like 89 gallons or something for a tire this size. So that's pretty close. Like I say, the scales are within 50-pound increments. They don't go to no less than that. So we got 1750 right there on that front one. And changing your loader height, which I have not done, but that will change the numbers you get. See, we only got 1650 on this side. I think we had 1700 across the board earlier. and we got 2,600 there. So like I say, one scale may be 50 pounds heavier and the other side 50 pounds lighter or something like we got up on here on the front, as you see. So earlier they were showing the exact same thing. Well, now it's going to show 1,700. It must be right there at the point of pretty close. Let's see what's this showing. This one's still showing 1,750. But you're going to get that when you have a scale that's that much a bigger increment. But anyway, we're looking at 8,600 pounds. That's 2,600 on each of the rear. 1,650 and 1,750 is 8,600 pounds. As I say, it's not full of fuel either, so add 100 pounds of fuel, be 8,700. And then the bucket. So anyway, with the operator, you're looking at anywhere from 88 to 9,200 pounds, so we'll call it 9,000 for rough measuring. And my GoPro battery is going dead, so I'm gonna wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next video.